The early morning sun cast a golden glow over the small town of Maplewood, its quiet streets lined with colorful autumn leaves. Jackson Carter drove his dusty pickup truck down Main Street, the familiar sights tugging at his heart. After years of military service overseas, Thanksgiving back in his hometown was a rare and cherished occasion. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel, grateful to be surrounded by family this year and eager to enjoy the homemade meal waiting for him at his mother's house. Jackson pulled up to Ida's Diner, a cozy little spot nestled between the hardware store and the town library. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods wafted out as he opened the door, immediately enveloping him in warmth. Inside, locals filled the tables, chatting animatedly while waitresses in aprons bustled about, balancing trays of steaming plates. "Good morning, Mr. Carter," a waitress called out as Jackson entered. It was Lily, a young woman with a bright smile and kind eyes. "Morning, Lily," Jackson replied with a nod, his deep voice resonating over the soft hum of conversation. "I'm here for the pies my mom ordered." "Oh, the famous Carter family pies," Lily said with a grin. "Give me a moment. They're cooling in the back." Jackson found a seat near the window and scanned the room, soaking in the cheerful atmosphere. Families huddled together, friends exchanged stories, and the clink of coffee mugs against saucers punctuated the lively scene. For Jackson, it was a stark contrast to the tense and chaotic environments he had endured in his years of service. Just as Lily emerged from the kitchen with a box of pies, the diner's door burst open. A group of 6 bikers strode in, their heavy boots thudding against the floor. They were dressed in leather jackets adorned with patches, their presence commanding attention. The leader, a burly man with a thick beard and an imposing stature, surveyed the room with a smug expression. "Tank, you're blocking the door," one of the bikers chuckled. "Relax," Tank said, his voice loud and grating. "This place could use some excitement." The diners grew quiet as the bikers made their way to the counter, their laughter echoing through the now tense air. Jackson tensed, but kept his focus on Lily as she carefully placed the pies on the table in front of him. "Here you go, Mr. Carter," she said, her smile faltering as she glanced nervously at the bikers. "Thanks, Lily." Jackson's voice was calm, but his sharp eyes didn't miss the unease spreading through the diner. The bikers, oblivious to the discomfort they caused, began loudly ordering food, knocking over a stack of napkins and joking crudely. Tank leaned against the counter, his voice booming as he harassed the staff. "Hey, sweetheart," he said to Lily, who was trying to take another customer's order. "Why don't you skip that and bring me a coffee? Black like my mood." Lily froze, her hands trembling slightly. I'll be with you in a moment," she stammered. Tank smirked and leaned closer. "I wasn't asking." Before Lily could respond, Jackson's steady voice cut through the tension. "She said she'd be with you. Maybe you should sit down and wait your turn." All eyes turned to Jackson. Tank straightened up, his smirk replaced with a sneer. "And who are you, old man? Town sheriff?" "Just a guy waiting for his pies," Jackson said evenly, his calm demeanor unshaken. The diner fell silent as Tank sauntered over to Jackson's table, his biker crew following close behind. "You got a lot of nerve talking to me like that," Tank growled. "Think you're some kind of hero?" Jackson locked eyes with him, his gaze steady and unflinching. "I'm just asking you to respect the folks here. That's not too much to ask, is it?" Tank chuckled darkly, glancing back at his crew. "Look at this guy, acting all high and mighty. What are you, some washed-up soldier?" Jackson's jaw tightened, but he refused to take the bait. "Enjoy your coffee," he said, standing up and picking up the box of pies. "You don't walk away from me," Tank barked, but Jackson was already heading toward the door. The air was thick with tension as the bikers glared after him, their pride wounded by his calm dismissal. Tank turned to his crew, his face twisted with anger. "Follow him. I'm not letting this punk walk out like that." Jackson stepped out of the diner, his boots crunching on the gravel parking lot as he walked toward his truck. The cold November air nipped at his face, but he felt a familiar calm settle over him, the same clarity he had relied on during his years in the military. He placed the box of pies carefully on the passenger seat and shut the door. His senses, honed from years of combat training, caught the sound of boots approaching. Turning slowly, he saw Tank and his gang spilling out of the diner, their sneers illuminated by the pale sunlight. "Thought you could just walk out, huh?" Tank called, his voice dripping with venom. Jackson didn't respond immediately. He scanned the parking lot, noting the positions of the gang members, the exits, and the bystanders who had gathered near the diner's windows to watch. "I didn't want trouble," Jackson said evenly, his voice calm but firm. "Go back inside and enjoy your coffee." Tank laughed, a harsh, guttural sound that set the rest of the gang snickering. "You think you can talk down to me like I'm some kid? You don't know who you're messing with." Jackson crossed his arms, his stance relaxed, but prepared. "No, I don't. And you don't know me. Let's keep it that way." The gang circled closer, emboldened by Tank's bravado. One of the bikers, a wiry man with a scar across his cheek, stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. "Maybe we teach you a lesson, old man." Tank raised a hand, stopping him. No, let me have this one." He stepped into Jackson's space, towering over him. "You think you're some kind of tough guy because you wore a uniform. Let's see what you've got without it." Jackson sighed, his patience wearing thin. "You don't want to do this." But Tank did. He swung a heavy fist toward Jackson's face. In a blur of motion, Jackson sidestepped the punch, grabbed Tank's arm, and twisted it behind his back. Tank let out a pained grunt as Jackson pushed him forward, forcing him off balance. "You should have stayed inside," Jackson muttered, releasing Tank and stepping back. The gang erupted into chaos. Two bikers lunged at Jackson, but he moved with precision, dodging their attacks and using their momentum against them. A swift kick sent one stumbling backward, while a calculated elbow strike knocked the other to the ground. The onlookers inside the diner gasped, their breath fogging the windows as they watched the scene unfold. "You're gonna regret this," Tank snarled, scrambling to his feet. Jackson stood firm, his posture unshaken. "You've got two choices. Leave now, or things get worse for you." Before the gang could respond, the sound of car doors slamming shut caught everyone's attention. Jackson turned to see a line of vehicles pulling into the parking lot. From the trucks and SUVs emerged his cousins, uncles, and a few family friends, all military trained, all fiercely protective of their own. "You good, Jackson?" called his cousin Marcus, a broad-shouldered man who had served in the Navy. "Yeah," Jackson replied, a small smile tugging at his lips, "but these guys might not be." The gang faltered as Jackson's family approached, their disciplined movements and confident stances intimidating the bikers. Marcus cracked his knuckles, standing beside Jackson, while Uncle Roy adjusted the brim of his hat, his expression unreadable, but his presence imposing. Tank's bravado wavered, but he tried to mask it with bluster. "What, you need backup to fight your battles?" "Not backup," Jackson said. "Family." Tank glanced nervously at his crew, who were shifting uneasily. "We're not scared of you." "Then you're not very smart," Uncle Roy said, stepping forward. The bikers hesitated for a moment too long. Marcus took the opportunity to step into their circle, his movements fluid and controlled. "Y'all should have stayed inside that diner," he said, his tone low and dangerous. What followed was a swift and decisive takedown. Jackson and his family moved as a unit, their military training evident in every motion. The bikers were no match for their precision and strength. One by one, they were subdued, their bravado crushed beneath the weight of their humiliation. Tank, battered and out of breath, found himself face to face with Jackson once more. "Call it off," he wheezed. "We're done." Jackson nodded to his family, who stepped back, allowing the gang to retreat. Tank scrambled to his feet, his pride shattered. "Get out of here," Jackson said, his voice steady but commanding. "And don't come back." The gang limped to their bikes, their humiliation witnessed by the growing crowd of onlookers. The diner erupted into applause as the gang rode off, their engines sputtering into the distance. Lily stepped outside, her face a mix of relief and gratitude. "Mr. Carter, thank you. I didn't know what to do." Jackson gave her a reassuring smile. "You shouldn't have to deal with people like that. Nobody should." The family loaded back into their vehicles, the pies safely stowed, and headed to Jackson's mother's house. The mood was light as they shared stories about the encounter, their laughter filling the air. Around the dinner table, surrounded by his family, Jackson reflected on the day's events. He was grateful, not just for the meal or the camaraderie, but for the reminder of what truly mattered, standing up for what's right and cherishing the people who stood by his side. As the sun set over Maplewood, the Carter family gave thanks, not just for the food or the holiday, but for each other. Thank you for joining us on this journey of courage, unity, and standing up to injustice. Jackson's story is a powerful reminder that strength doesn't just come from one person. It comes from family, community, and the unbreakable bonds that hold us together. If this story moved you, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know where you're listening from. We love hearing from our amazing Hopeful Horizon community. And of course, hit the subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss another story that inspires, challenges, and stays with you long after it's over. Until next time, stay hopeful, stay united, and always stand for what's right. See you soon.